Have you ever tried to hem a t-shirt, leggings, or some other item that you're making that has knit fabric and it turns out wavy, stretched out, or just doesn't look right? It can be so frustrating, but it doesn't have to be. I'm Jan Hal, welcome back to my channel. If you're new here, I'm all about showing you lots of tips and tricks that you can use when you're sewing, doing other DIY projects that make it a lot easier, less frustrating, and I may even save you a little money. In this tutorial today, I'm going to show you 4 different ways and 4 things that you can do to make hemming knit fabric so much easier, and you're going to get professional results on all of them. So without any further ado, let's get started. The first tip when you're sewing on knit fabric is to make sure that you're using the correct needle. Sewing on knit fabrics, you're going to need a ball tip needle. That will make it so you don't get those little holes in your stitches. You can use a jersey needle or a stretch stitch needle. And you're also going to want to use a stretch stitch. And I'll go over that in the techniques that I'll show you. The first method that I'm going to show you is using this Stitch Witchery fusible bonding web. And it comes cut in different widths. This one is a 5/8 inch cut, and you can also get it in this 1/4 inch, which is for smaller hems and things. So basically it's going to give your knit fabric some stabilization, and it's also going to hold it in place while you get ready to sew it. So see how that fabric just wants to curl up, and it makes it really hard to work with. I'm going to just take the iron and give it a little press right there, and then take your webbing and place it on the edge of the fabric and then fold it over and press that as you go. If you have a small hem, you'll just put that along the edge, and you could probably use this as a bigger hem too if you wanted to just put it on the top edge and then fold it over. Then I'm going to take it to the sewing machine and sew along that edge. Now when you're sewing with knit fabric, you need to use a zigzag stitch or a lightning bolt stitch, because if you sew a straight stitch like I have on this, if I were to pull that, did you hear that popping? And you can see how that stitch popped, and you don't want that to happen on your finished item. So I'll show you on the sewing machine the stitch of the zigzag. Now I recommend using just a regular zigzag stitch. Most machines, unless it's just strictly for quilting, your machine will have a zigzag stitch. Needle with the stretch needle. I have taken the universal needle from the machine and put it in my needle sorter pin cushion. And I take the other pin and put it in the jersey space so that I know that in my machine I have that knit needle. There's nothing more frustrating than not knowing what needle is in the machine. Then you waste so many needles. I will put the link in the description below where you can watch the tutorial on that and get the PDF pattern and instructions. My machine is set to a zigzag stitch, the width 3 and the length at 3.5, and I'm just going to sew along that cut edge. We don't have to finish the edge of the knit fabric because it's not going to fray. Just let the feed dogs pull it through without pulling on it, and you'll get a nice smooth finish. Nice flat edge and seam. Look at that. No bulks, no waves, no twisting. The next method is using this Wash Away Wonder Tape. I've used it in some of my other tutorials. It's basically an adhesive tape with a peel off paper. And so what you do is put it on the wrong side of the item that you're hemming. And a trick to getting that paper to peel off is just to rip that. You see how you pull it? And you can easily pull off that paper. Now I'm going to fold it over where I need to fold it. Usually it's a 1-inch hem on a t-shirt, or on leggings it's a little bit smaller. So we'll do about a 5/8 inch. And you really don't need to even press that. You can take it right to the sewing machine and sew it. And what I really like about this stuff is it doesn't gum up your needle. So we're going to go ahead and do the same thing. One thing I do want to mention about this wash away tape though, is if you pull it before you wash it, the seams will pop. So wash this out so that tape can dissolve, and then it will stretch with the fabric because you have that zigzag stitch. This next tip is one of the simplest things that you can do, and it really is effective, and that's by using spray starch. I use this a ton in my sewing projects, and it really is effective. So I've just put a piece of wrapping paper down, or you can put down a big piece of paper. You just don't want to get the spray starch on your ironing board. I'm going to give that edge that I'm going to be sewing a good spray. See how that makes the fabric a lot more stiff, so that I can just fold that. And it's not going to stick it down, but it is going to make it so when I put my clips on or my pins in, it's just going to hold that shape a lot better. And the next stitch that I show you is going to be the last method that I'm going to show you, where you'll get a professional top stitching on the back, and that is by using a twin needle. Now, if you have never used one of these, it looks complicated, and you're probably wondering how in the world are you going to thread your regular sewing machine with 2 threads. It's really easy, and I'll show you how to do that. But it's going to give you a nice professional finished edge that you see on a lot of clothing items, that cover stitch they call it, and it'll be 2 rows of stitching. Let's go to the machines and I'll show you how to thread your machine. I have removed the needle that was in there before, and this is what the stretch stitch needle looks like. So this needle will have a flat edge and a round edge. That flat edge is, you'll want to face it towards the back of the machine and insert it like that. And I'm going to put it in now. Some machines are going to have a second spool that you can flip up. If you don't, I'll show you on my other machine in just a second. But you're going to either put another spool of the same color, or I guess you could use 2 colors if you wanted to, but you could use a spool of thread, or I'm just going to use a bobbin with black thread on it. And you'll want to thread it through all the tensions and all the guides that you normally would. You'll want to make sure that it's connecting in this upper guide here, and bring it back down. Now we have 2 threads here. Let me show you how to thread that needle. Okay, on your machine there is a little hook thing where you usually put your threads in to hold it before it goes into the needle. We're going to take one of the threads and put it in that guide, and then we'll thread that needle on the left. And that second thread, you're not going to put it into that guide. You're just going to thread it through the needle. I have set my machine to a straight stitch, and you're going to be sewing on the right side of the fabric. So you need to make sure that when you're clipping this in place that you have the right seam allowance. And I'm just going to check that. We want to have that come down, that left needle, just inside of that seam or that cut edge. So I'm going to find out where that needle is and measure 5/8, and it'll be marked on your machine right there. And we'll use that as a guide. And remember, when you're top stitching, is to hold those threads, that top thread, for a few stitches so you don't get that nesting or bunching up at the top, on the top or the bottom. So obviously I wouldn't be using black thread probably on this t-shirt. I would try to get my matching thread. I hope you found that helpful, so that when you are hemming your knit fabric projects, one of these methods will come in handy. Let me know what you find helpful. Let me know if you have any other great techniques. You have the Stitch Witchery tape, you have the washable fabric tape, and you have the spray starch and your double needle method. They all look great. They're all easy to use. Let me know if you have any questions. Thanks so much for watching, and stay tuned for some upcoming projects where I'm going to show you how to make things with knit fabric and how easy and fun it is to do. If you haven't subscribed to my channel yet, make sure you do that. Stay tuned for other upcoming tutorials. And if you want to find other projects, some of my patterns, go to my website, youmakeitsimple.com. Make sure you're clicking on that bell so you can be notified when I put new projects up. Save this, share it with your friends. Have a wonderful day. Have fun sewing with knit fabric, and we'll see you in the next tutorial.